At Neal Brown's press conference, there's one message that came through loud and clear. Penn State didn't beat us. West Virginia beat us. Is he right? Let's talk about that on this episode of Locked On West Virginia.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. This is another edition of Locked On West Virginia. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Neal Brown spoke again today about the Penn State-West Virginia game, and I felt like he had some interesting things to say. And so on this episode of Locked On West Virginia, we're going to talk about that press conference that Neal Brown had. We're going to check out Jordan Leslie's press conference as well and see what he had to say, and then talk a little bit about Albany. Is this a trap game already in the season this early for West Virginia? What does West Virginia need to do against that Albany team to silence some of the early pundits?
We struggle with just basic functioning football, snaps, red zone. If you look at it, as bad as we played, if we just score in the red zone, then we have a ball game. We had it in the red zone the exact same amount of times they did. And we were 1 for 4 there. We don't convert a 4th and 1. We kick 2 field goals and we get a touchdown. And that's the game right there. And our perimeter blocking, we didn't do a good job running guys off. We had some 10, 12-yard runs that would have been 30 and 40 if our receivers did what they were supposed to do. We had 4 drops on potential explosive plays. With guys that usually make those. That hadn't been an issue for us. And just disappointing because we got the talent to play a lot better than that.
So right away, the message I feel like I'm getting here is Neal Brown, obviously, I haven't heard a lot said about Penn State here. And I felt like, to me, it was obvious that Penn State was just quite a bit better on Saturday. And in these, I don't know, if this is just his way of dealing with it or if I'm wrong possibly, but it feels like credit was more due to Penn State rather than what we did, although we did some really bad things. Obviously, our nerves were really bad. Just name it off. Nerves were bad snaps. Because of that, lights were too bright, hype train all the way up through the week. And so looking back on it, I just don't know if I can buy West Virginia beat West Virginia as much as Penn State beat West Virginia. Even though he hasn't come out and said that, that's the message I continue to get from this press conference. Let's keep going for a second.
Well, positives, had 0 penalties. Thought we did a really good job versus their ends. I think we got 5 penalties on them. We mixed our snap count up.
Okay, so I've heard enough of that. I realize he's got to try to come away with something positive here. And look, we shouldn't have scored the touchdown we did on the 1-yard line. They stuffed us on 4th and 1, it seems like 2 other times, although I don't have it right in front of me. In short yardage, our point of contact sucked. It was terrible. So I don't agree with that. Penn State played better. Yes, the negative yardage didn't help in the overall run total. But it's like saying I only got shot in the calf. You're still injured, you're still bleeding. You still have to go to the hospital and you still have to fix it. And you can hear exactly what I'm talking about as Neal talks again.
So I'll try to explain it to you. So offensive line wise, if you go back and you just watch it, and we didn't do as poor a job running the football as the numbers show. Now they are what they are. I'm not trying to convince you that numbers are lying, but we had a minus 16 on the snap that hit the receiver. That was the quarterback's fault. And then the hot snap was minus 11. So we had minus 27. And then on the pass play where Garrett fumbled was another minus 7 or 8. And so you add all that minus yardage, and it looks worse than it actually was, okay? So our point of contact, we had one negative, one outside run. It was on a 1st and 10 going toward the weight room, where we had Jaheim kind of went backwards and we lost 6 yards. And that was really the only significant negative run we had that wasn't self-induced, right?
So obviously I disagree with that. For me, there was way more runs that were negative than that, especially in short yardage. So I don't get it. I don't get this attitude at all. I understand that those negative yardage plays played a part in the overall run total, but it had no real impact on the game as far as I'm concerned, outside of it stopped those 2 drives. Yes, that's big, but I don't know. It's just, to me, I think that the energy can be spent best elsewhere. And it sounds like he's saying, without saying it, like, Penn State didn't really beat us, we beat us. Let me know if you agree with that. Like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, guys, and leave a comment below. Let me know how you feel about this press conference Neal Brown has given today.
But our play up front wasn't as poor as the numbers show. Okay. I thought we did a really good job on their edge people. Their quickness in the interior bothered us some. But I thought we got expansion on their ends. I thought we got good movement. Jaheim, we didn't get enough touches. He got injured and missed a good chunk there in the second, third quarter. But we didn't get him enough touches in general. But I thought he and CJ did some good things in the run game. I thought Traylon Davis did some good things in the run game. We've got to be more consistent versus the movement inside, and Cole's got to play a lot better for us in the run game. And then our receivers, they're playing man coverage, and we got to run those guys off. And so we probably left 30 to 50 yards in rushing offense out on the field just because our receivers didn't run off. And that was disappointing. And you can turn on our film from last year, and we were as good as anybody that was playing and running people off. I say all that to say that our offensive line play was better than what the rushing numbers look like. And then our quarterback made some poor decisions in the run game, which attributes to that as well. We didn't necessarily – our issues were not just because they knocked us off the ball.
It'll be interesting to see how, as this year goes along, if Neal Brown starts to give other teams a little more credit, take some more accountability. If I'm wrong with this take, I'd love to hear yours. Up next on Locked On West Virginia, we talked Jordan Leslie at his press conference. How did he react after the defense played a pretty poor game against the Penn State Nittany Lions? Well, we talk about that next on Locked On West Virginia. I like to use 5-hour energy usually in the mornings. That way I'm wide awake and ready to start my day. If you're tired after lunch, you're not alone. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit the wall after lunch. Let a 5-hour energy shot leap you over that wall instead of crashing into it. 5-hour energy fixes tired fast. With zero sugar, a convenient portable size, it's a perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-hour energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There is a flavor for everyone. You should try them all. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12 or 24 pack. Choose which one that works best for you, and it'll be delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5-hour energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCollegeFootball to receive a 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription or either, so you should go to 5hourenergy.com and do that today. As you're about to find out, Jordan Leslie's press conference is quite a bit different than Neal Brown's press conference. I felt like there was a lot more ownership, but I also felt like even though he's admitting to some of these things, I don't know what to make. I really don't. I don't know what to make of what Jordan Leslie says here. I got to take a moment to thank WestVirginiaSportsNow.com and Mike Ostie for letting me use these clips from this. Very grateful that he's letting me do this. That way we don't have any copyright issues on our hands here. So I do have permission from the YouTube owner to use these clips. Just wanted to put that on here so that everybody knows. You're going to hear Jordan Leslie say something here in a minute that I want to call into question, and it's easy for me to do after the fact, but that's my job. So that's what we're going to talk about here next.
So the tendency and the personnel and the formation was what it was. And I played that a little more than probably played the situation, which is what, hindsight 2020 should have did. But elected for pressure, put our best man cover guy where he was, which he is, and Garnett makes that play 9 out of 10 times in practice. And I trust him to do it again. But if I put him in that situation again, now, again, played the tendency of that, what they were in and what they were doing more than I played the situation. And that's a mistake on my part.
Okay, so unbelievably, I'm honestly kind of shocked that he admitted that, which, I mean, great on him for being honest, But essentially what you're admitting to here is playing a tendency under a minute to go and a half when a team's in a shotgun formation. I don't know. I mean, I get it. You have to guess a lot as a defensive coordinator based off of information. A lot of times analytics will tell you what or what not to call. But I really think this is a boneheaded mistake here. Obviously, it changed the game and flipped it completely on its head, right? You can't have that kind of mistake. You just can't. Unbelievable. I'm honestly in shock over that, I just thought that what they said was, after the game, I thought they said that that Aubrey misplayed it on the seam, But he's saying that he just made the wrong call, basically, that he was playing towards a tendency that they had based off of the formation they were in, and so made a call. Now, he's kind of taking some hit for his players here, and I get that, but what a hit to take, Big L for Jordan Leslie on this, although I appreciate the honesty. You just can't have that kind of mistake as a coach, I mean, it happens. I get it's going to happen. But in a game like that, you have to be the better coach, is with the ES. So, and West Virginia was not that. So, very disappointed in really a lot of how the game was called. I don't know, man. They just didn't show up for this game in all facets. The more that comes out, the more I realize that we were at a coaching disadvantage too, not just a player's disadvantage.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the easy answer is pressure. And the hard part of the pressure against what we know they like to do and what that guy's always done is that's when he's always making you adjust. So you can pressure yourself right into a huge play, a touchdown play on first down, if you're not careful. Now, we had a couple of those on first downs where we did send pressure, and we're very effective on it. Early on, when we saw two personnels that you just kind of had to guess you would see, which we expected. We expect to see things. I mean, that's game one stuff. And so as you're adjusting through that, you're staying pretty basic just to figure out, all right, where are they going with this? What are they trying to do? And some of those came on some of those yardage plays on those first downs come in that scenario. And then when we settled in, I thought we were fine.
And that's true. The defense did settle in at times. They certainly had a better performance than the offense and actually forced Penn State to several third down calls and some 3-and-outs. There was enough stops in the second half for the offense to come back if they scored on every possession. Obviously, they had to score on at least 2 or 3 possessions, and the defense got the stops in the second half. It wasn't like Penn State had to punt at least twice that I know of. So there was the opportunity there. Obviously, it was very little margin for error. So, I will say that the defense did play better than the offense did. No doubt about that. So just overall, I have to say a lot of what we learned on these 2 press conferences that West Virginia was outcoached and they were outplayed. So we're going to have to follow this for the rest of the season and see if that continues to be a theme. We better hope it doesn't, because this will be a very disappointing season if it does continue. Up next on the Locked On West Virginia, we're going to move on to Albany and hear what Neal Brown had to say about them. And should we be worried? Is this a trap game? Stick around. We're going to talk about that next. Hey, Locked On West Virginia fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do. It's called Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach, maybe head coach Neal Brown, and lead your team to football glory. Can you imagine being the head coach of West Virginia? From recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling your scholarships, you control every crucial detail of the program. You can micromanage it just how you want. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? Here's what I really love about the game, and I do have the game on my phone. You are responsible for calling offensive plays during the games. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but it is going to shape your future and legacy of your program. And so Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free. It has no ads and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go and as you want and when you want. And, of course, we have a special offer for Locked On West Virginia fans. Use the promo code Locked On College Football, which is in all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com. That's ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your legacy as a head coach today. You're probably looking at me and wondering, what the heck is the good news in all this? Is there any good news in all this? Well, Neal Brown talked about upcoming opponent, Albany, who was a almost national championship FCS team last year. Let's hear what he had to say about them, then I'm going to give my thoughts.
We've got an opponent coming in this week that has played football at a high level. You know, this Albany team. The thing that sticks out to me the most as I watched them last night and this morning is extremely well coached. This is a group that played in the semifinals last year, the FCS. I'm sitting there watching them beat Idaho in the I think it's the Kibbe Dome, and I played there when we were at Troy when Idaho was FBS. That's a tough place to play, and they go out last year and win in Idaho. And I'm watching that game thinking, you know, Idaho almost beat Oregon, and so I think that puts some that gives you some perspective on what kind of team that's coming in here. It's a team that's used to winning. It's a team that plays in a really good conference, the CAA. It's one of the top 2 or 3 FCS leagues in the country. Coached in that myself for a number of years. And these guys do a really good job schematically in all 3 phases. And I'll start kind of on offense. Last year, they were really good throwing the football, but it started with the run. They're going to give us a bunch of different formation looks. They want to establish the run. Offensive line-wise, they've got really good size, especially at the FCS level. I think they got 3 guys up front that are good enough to play in our league. And they've got a receiver that had a big game last week or on Saturday night that started his career at Oregon. Overall, they got 20 Division I transfers. I think 6 guys that were on Power 4 rosters a year ago. So they've got guys that can play at this level, and they're not going to be intimidated. They gave Marshall everything they wanted and more last year down in Huntington. And so defensively, they line up and play. They're a 4-down front. Their base is out of cover 4, and they play really gap-sound defense. They tackle and is really well coached. They've had several guys that have left there in the last 3 and 4 years and gone on to Power 4 schools and then been drafted. And so they really are good at developing guys on that defensive line. And they've got 2 corners that can really run, that they play man covers. Regardless who they're playing, they've lined up and played man. And so and they're sound in their special teams. They do some things that we've got to work. They're a little bit unique, but they're a good football team. This is the best FCS program we've had come in here since the first game in 2019 when we played James Madison.
So a lot of respect given to Albany, the Great Danes out of the CAA from head coach Neal Brown. I'll say this. They were good last year, really good. But this isn't the same team. I've looked into them. I've actually gotten a hold of somebody who's going to come on this week and hopefully help me preview them. But I'm going to read something from Channel 6 News, guessing in Albany. This is on the website, channel 6, or CBS6Albany.com. What might be one of the most anticipated seasons to date? The University of Albany is looking to build off last year's momentum. They finished 2023 nationally ranked, first-time CAA champs, and had a national semifinal appearance and an 11-win season. Lots of new faces this year, though. Half the roster being transfers, including their sophomore field general Wisconsin transfer quarterback Miles Burkett. What can fans expect from Burkett? There's not too much college tape on him, but he was a 4-star recruit out of high school who also won the Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Wisconsin as a senior. As for the week 1 opponent, LIU finished 4-7-23, and Burkett had this to say about their team as of last week. We have a lot of guys on this team that are going to start their first game on Saturday, including me. We have a lot of guys who don't have much experience. We have a whole team that's maybe unproven, so everything's got to be earned on Saturday and beyond. The guys are ready to go. I'm ready to go, and I'm really excited. Miles Burkett, quarterback, University of Albany football. You're playing an opponent. Who can look completely different than they did last year. So we have to go into the game with an open mind, be prepared, and really lock in on your game plan, because you know that their game plan can change. I think the guys are doing a good job of really locking in on what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. So it should be a fun time. So I really get a sense here that this just isn't the same Albany team as last year, obviously. Like Coach Brown said, there is a metric ton of talent on the team. I mean, they've got a ton of Power 4 transfers, but, man, they haven't played any games. So, to me, I don't think against an experienced group like West Virginia, I look for West Virginia to really blow the doors off this game. I'm going to hold off a prediction and see how bad it can get until I talk to the guys that I've reached out to. But they're definitely not terrible. So we'll have to find out and see. This would be a good get-right game for West Virginia. But let's see what the reporter has to say. I'll have him on this week, hopefully, if he responds. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Locked On West Virginia. Hope you keep coming back, guys. Thank you for joining me on this episode. And until the next one, be a great Mountaineer. Locked On College Football, your second listen, and thank you for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen today. Now you should go check out Locked On College Football's podcast, from NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors. Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find the link to Locked On College Football in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day.